Dear Prime Minister.
Dear Albo.
Dear PM, we want more care in our communities.
Stop buying traditional owners' land if you're not going to use it.
Another thing was for the Prime Minister just to really listen to the people.
Hi, my name is Satara. I'm 22 years old and I'm Australia's youth representative to the United Nations for 2025.
My job is to travel around the country, around Australia, and talk to young people like yourselves.
I've sat with refugees, I've sat with young people in detention, with those with disabilities, been out on country with First Nations kids, talking about the issues that young people are seeing cropping up for them.
Kids can't really deal with their mental health. Under age of 16 might be like better to not use social media.
Maybe they can't.
I think a lot about what it means to fail in this role, because I think you're given such a responsibility and a privilege, and if you screw that up, the consequences of that would be unbearable to me.
Your voice is super important today because you guys can help change the story being told about young Australians and help this country be accountable to the promises that it makes to its youth. I take your voices with me to the highest levels of decision making in this country.
If you are different, if you are diverse, that is your greatest asset, that's how you lead the best.
Then I jump on a plane to New York to bring your voices to the world stage because I present your findings and your voices in a speech to the United Nations General Assembly in New York.
More funding for public education, and just be bold, Prime Minister.
I see a lot of heartbreak, I see sorrow, I see disappointment, I see a lot of emotion. But I also think it's given me a lot of hope. I think young people in Australia are so bright, they're so switched on, and they have a lot to say.
We are not asking for everything, we're just asking for chances. We are not lost causes. We are young people trying to find our way back, and we need your help.
Welcome to the settlement.
Thank you so much for having me.
The way that you become the youth rep to the UN, it's a process that's open to anyone who's 18 to 25 years old and open to anyone in Australia from any background. Part of the reason why I wanted to take up this role was as a kind of extension of the advocacy I'd already been doing, particularly for the disability community and for underrepresented communities in Australia.
What you're going to do is create a piece of work that kind of resembles your identity. Have you got a particular place in mind when you're painting this?
Just like where me and my friends used to like go out often.
Yeah, that's really cool.
Because we used to go to like the harbour side and like play volleyball.
A large part of my role is to listen. It's just to simply be there and communicate with young people in whatever medium that they would like to share with me. Whether that's an artwork, whether that's a song, whether that's directly speaking through words. The way that I've been doing that is by collecting letters to the Prime Minister from every young person I've been talking to. And so I've got letters all the way from the Tiwi Islands, Christmas Island, detention centres down in Tasmania, Central Australia, around the country, you know, with kids who are expressing themselves in different ways, but have a voice and have words and a message for our leaders.
This is your community. What we've got is your home, we've got a school, we've got the settlement or a youth centre, we've got the gym, and we've got a hospital. So do you guys actually think school prepares you for life after graduation? Put your hands up if you think so. Yeah, go for it.
Like it teaches you information that you kind of need to know for like depending on what job you're going into that
Yeah.
you might need to know. However, a lot of the time it doesn't really teach you a lot of the skills that are necessary outside of work.
Yeah.
Young people, more than ever, are looking for life skills. And when you're talking to a classroom of young people and they say, we don't even know how to pay our taxes, we don't know how superannuation works, even write a resume for a job, I think those are issues that we need to talk about. But the other really big thing is civics education. I mean, we just had an election in 2025 and most young people told me if I was told tomorrow to go out and vote, I would have no idea how to do that. And I think that's really problematic because it seemingly looks like a very small issue, but you're preventing a whole group of people from participating in the democratic process. are one of the biggest influences of the social justice aspect of my personality.
Looks good, right? Yeah. Cool. Alrighty.
I mean, both my parents were very active in the kind of human rights struggles in Sri Lanka during the Civil War, and they would always talk to us about those things. And that was really important in getting a sense of right and wrong and, you know, what were human rights abuses and the rights of everyone, particularly of children. And then growing up as a young carer for my younger sister, Karaka, who has a double disability. She has Down syndrome, is deaf and is also non-verbal. I learnt very quickly that those who communicate differently are left behind in this country.
Satara's voice came through when she was a baby. She wanted to make people know that she was present.
I think she was very curious, always very alert, and also very early sense of justice and sort of fairness that sort of came through right earlier on.
Welcome to worship.
We hear words from John 14, words of comfort, familiar words. Don't let your hearts be troubled. Trust in God and trust in God's who loves you.
So she's been going to church from when she was a baby. Jesus' teaching of compassion, justice, that has given her the fundamental building blocks for the person whom she has become.
Let us pray. Heavenly Father, we thank you for the gift of youth.
We also chose this church because of their sort of what you might call progressive Christianity, a kind of social justice sense of Christianity that is a bit rare to find nowadays.
We thank you for the vital work Satara has been doing around the country this year. We ask for your blessing on her as she goes to report to the United Nations. Lord, we thank you for the concern shown by so many young people for the most devastating issues facing our human race. Grant them the courage and commitment to continue to demand action in these areas until we in the older generation respond as we should.
I think the fundamental principle that underpins all of this is that everyone is made equal in the image of God. The kind of values that centred around my upbringing in that church space, in that church community, was really important to me. When you're a carer for someone with a disability and you exist in that world, your reality is not that you're just brought up by your parents, you're brought up by a community. And one of the communities that brought my sister and I up was our church community. When I was extremely young, I think it was 10, I wrote a letter to the Pope asking why no female could be the Pope, as that was an ambition that I wanted. And I realised that there was an issue here, and it wasn't that I wasn't Catholic, it was that I was a female. It's quite busy, isn't it? It is.
During HSC, she went through a major crisis of trying to figure out whether there was a God. And she would have these very deep conversations like, what's the point in doing anything if we are going to die and then everything sort of, the earth disappears and in a million years nobody will care for what's happening now. So there are questions, that's what I kept telling her, look, these are questions that people have been asking for thousands of years and nobody has quite formed the answer, so you can't expect to get an answer immediately.
I think it was a crisis of faith, but also the bit of an existential crisis around, what is your place as a young person, on the cusp of adulthood, making sense of what I wanted to do when I was older. Did I want to move away from home? Did I want to stay and look after my sister? A lot of these questions kind of came into play and came to a head when I was 18. Having seen the way that people misuse faith to be violent, to be exclusive, discriminatory to others, has been a point of real pain for me, because I saw faith, or I saw the way that my parents brought me up in a Christian household as being something of love, a welcoming nature and comfort and safety. But I believe in the community that I've had, and that I think is enough for me.
What are you doing, Karuka?
What is this? Where's the alien at the back? My mum has taught me that You do not need to be the loudest person in the room to be heard or to be an advocate. She is one of the biggest disability advocates I'll ever see, but you don't see her at the front of papers or standing in front of a microphone. She works in her own way. She works with other children. She volunteers at the school. I think seeing that in a quieter way shows me that there is no one mould of what a leader or advocate looks like.
Thank you. All right. All good?
Satara had to become a young carer when she was young. She's loving, but she's very strict with her sister too. They love each other so much.
Hello. Look who it is.
I thought maybe I could use that experience and way of communicating differently that I learnt with my sister to actually bring the voices of all young Australians to the table and actually include them. When we talk about things like leadership and policy, it seems to be dominated by a certain type of person, and I think that's because we don't listen to the voices of those who actually speak in unconventional ways.
Hi Linda and Mia, how are you?
Oh, we're great, thank you, Karika. How are you?
Can I please pick up my book?
Yes, there it is.
Absolutely. That might mean not speaking the loudest or speaking English. It might mean using sign language, speaking in different languages, or not even speaking at all.
Oh.
The letters that I've gotten, some people have told me that the reason they commit crime is because life is better in a jail cell where you have 3 meals a day, you have a shower, and you have community and friends than it is to be alone at home with a family that maybe has a history of incarceration and drug and alcohol abuse. You know, it's when tiny kids tell me that they join gangs because they want some kind of family, not because they want to be a nuisance to society. But unfortunately, we don't see those children for the reasons that they express. We don't see that they just want love and care. And, you know, when the system has let them down so fundamentally, we just choose to lock them up instead and see them as a problem. And that's not a way to treat a child.
Sit down.
Dear Prime Minister, we are writing to you from Cobham Youth Justice Centre. We're young people, some of us are still kids. But what we want you to know is that we're not just what we've done. In your eyes, we might be criminals, but we're still people.
That's the part people forget. We're still sons, brothers, friends. Some of us are artists, some are cooks, some want to work with cars, some write music. But when we're locked up, people stop seeing us as human. They stop believing we can change. This place gives us food, a bed and a shower. Some of us never had that growing up, but surviving isn't the same as living, and it definitely isn't the same as healing.
Me personally, I prefer being in here.
Yeah.
Because I get that a lot of support in here. I don't have that on the outside.
Right, so you reckon life is actually better here than it is on the outside?
Because I actually wanted to come in here to get a job, because I couldn't get that.
Outside you wouldn't be able to get a job. Right, okay. What else do you reckon could be fixed on the outside? What about things like a house, like having a safe place to live?
Inflation and that, like, it's too much, you know?
Can't afford a house anymore? Yeah.
It's too much pressure. We're going to be 50 renting houses.
Yeah.
Albanese needs to pull it down.
I don't know how to explain it, but like, it's like all the people that can afford, you know, a lower price house, all those people in the same area, and all their kids are growing up, they're doing mischief because of where they're growing up.
Yeah.
Like, it's like a cycle.
It's a cycle?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. And how do you reckon you break that cycle?
Put the prices down.
Put the prices down.
Put the prices down.
Prices down.
It's super hard to get a job once you're out. It's harder for us. And when you finally get out, there's no one there to guide you. You're just expected to make it on your own. Maybe that's why some of us end up coming back.
The new trade centre here has already changed lives. A visiting mechanic was so impressed with one of the boys' work, he offered him a job when he got out. That's what works. Real skills, real hope, real second chance. We want more music, more painting. Painting helps keep many of our boys calm. These things aren't just hobbies. They are therapy, they're expressions that help us cope.
There's like a million things that like go through your head, I think, when you come back from an experience like that. And I think sometimes that's why taking the train for about 2 hours to get home is often quite a therapeutic experience. Stepping out of a place like Cobham and getting on the train and being surrounded by other young people who are just in a very different place in life it's quite a surreal thing because they're two very different worlds, but within the same vicinity, within meters of each other. You know, every young person here has their own story, just like every young person at Cobham. Every young person deserves the same chances, no matter where they come from or what their background is. So it's a very grounding experience for me.
I think that's been such an important part of the role, making sure that we're listening to everyone. So, you know, doing things like making sure we had accessibility requirements in place when we were talking to kids with disabilities, having a translator on hand if we needed to actually, you know, make those bridges between language.
Well done, guys. Joshua, you're stage 6. We are stage 6 creative arts. Thank you so much for watching our show. The best thing about being at St Lucy's is when I get to do lots of creative arts.
And how does creative arts make you feel?
It makes me feel very, very happy.
Yeah, you feel like you can get your voice heard?
Feels like I can get my voice heard.
And how about you, Pablo? How does creative arts make you feel?
Makes me feel pretty good.
And listen, you know the Prime Minister, Anthony Albanese? What would you like to tell him? Dear Mr Albanese.
Dear Mr Albanese.
Mr Albanese.
I was in the car wash and I got my head smacked in the face.
What did you do, stick your head out the window?
Yep, and get my face smacked. Oh shit, my booty.
They were interested in thinking about somebody being the boss of the country, and we spoke about things that they might like to do if they were the boss of a country. We did have some interesting words about the PM and about what football team he likes and about what he could be doing better and what they should have more of. You know, less homework, more takeout, more skate parks, I think was one of them as well. So all the things that matter for youth.
Shh. Quiet. My disability is perfect.
This is amazing. I think I didn't quite understand the scale of how much I was getting by doing this activity. You know, you've got issues here all the way from immigration, youth incarceration, AI, cost of living, disability rights, education. There's just everything's here.
I don't think somebody at her age can actually cope up with all the things that she has been exposed to.
So what she does is when she's out there, she holds it together. When she comes home, she is she breaks down at home. You feel helpless. But then you pick up the pieces and then you start again.
I do worry enormously about her during the most stressful periods when she's been in the NT or in Queensland, and each day she's piling on more and more trauma that she's listening to. And I worry about how she's processing that. But at the same time, I've seen what she's capable of, and I can't ever see her letting it get to her and stop the work that she is so passionate about.
Somebody made a chat box letter for me,
We can go liberal, L-I-B-E-R-A-L, and then you pick a number, maybe I'll pick 6. And it says, the social media ban isn't the best way. Perhaps we should use more regulations or enforcement mechanisms. Dear Albo, maybe you've heard about the youth crime in Alice, but I don't believe that's what our kids want to be doing. Domestic violence is a plague. It's the root cause of youth homelessness, youth crime, and our crumbling community. L-A-B-O-R. I'm going to choose number 8. Please support the barrier reef as it is being bleached. I think we've got all the solutions to the world just there. I think it's making me feel that there's so much life and energy in all these letters and these voices, but to know that, you know, at the end of the day, I can put these in the report, I can read them out to politicians, but realistically, like, the Prime Minister's not going to read every single one of them. And I know he's a busy man, but I think there's just so much vulnerability and hope here, and it seems like a big shame that he won't be able to see all of this or hear all of this, because it's beautiful. And if you want to know what Australia looks like, it's here. Every youth rep every year puts together this mammoth report that just gets shelved and that just collects dust. And that's where I'm trying to push against that trend this year. It's to actually collect this report, but also follow it up, you know, hold politicians accountable to what they've been doing and to show them in very plain terms that the choices they make are impacting other people.
So not long to go before you head to New York.
Yeah, that's right. It's coming up. It's flown by, I think.
And it's been a really busy time for you in preparation. Come on in.
Thank you.
I think what she's going to give to government is the language and the words and the voices of young Australians that are often not heard by politicians and those who are designing legislation, designing policy. And I think she's making a very strong case for young people to be in the design of change of policy. And I think there'll be some really interesting data she'll be giving to that level of government and the parliament that will be really important.
Yeah.
Well, thank you.
Well, for you.
This will give us an insight into what you've already discovered about what matters to young people. And I'm particularly interested in their connection.
I think a lot about what it means to fail in this role. When I was in Alice Springs, I was yarning with a group of amazing young women, and after having one of the most raw and honest conversations I've ever had in my life, one of the girls just clocks me right in the eye and she says, "Sis, you better not f this up." And I think that sentiment is something that I'm going to be carrying with me to the United Nations. The Australian government signs treaties of international law, often many of which are facilitated by the UN. So we've got the UN Convention on the Rights of the Child, the rights of people with disabilities, the rights of Indigenous people, and the Torture Convention. One of the most heartbreaking things of this role is putting together a table on all the violations of international law that I've seen, that I've heard of, that I've witnessed. Australia prides itself on its multiculturalism and its diversity and its ability to be the place where everyone gets a fair go. But when we are putting kids in adult watch houses, when we're reintroducing spit hoods back in youth detention centres, there are problems there that violate all those treaties. And when we have someone like the Premier of Queensland saying we're not beholden to the United Nations, I think that to me is a statement that summarises our attitude towards the UN and towards those treaties. Firstly, youth in our region, the Asia Pacific, are on the front lines of climate devastation. Indigenous children and those across the Pacific are already experiencing the brutal impact of a warming world. Secondly, young people in Australia are deeply concerned by the prevalence and treatment of children in the criminal justice system. But I'd like to begin by bringing into the heart of the UN these words from a youth detention centre in Australia. We're not just what we've done. We're still sons, brothers, friends. Some of us are artists, some are cooks, some write music. But when we're locked up, people stop seeing us as human. Each year, 261,000 children are incarcerated globally. We must find another way to raise the age of criminal responsibility and to invest in community-led care that restores rather than punishes, that helps children heal, rebuild and belong. we used to be really powerful in terms of advocating for human rights legislation and frameworks at the United Nations. Australia was one of the pioneers of so much of that legislation. But it seems that in recent years we've slipped. We're not actually aligning ourselves with international law and with what we claim to be, advocating for on that global scale. And that, I think, means that, we need to actually reevaluate who we are as a country. What are our priorities? Do we want to be in line with the promises that we say we've made? So I'll end by reminding us who I am speaking for and who the UN was built to serve. The schools where children dream, the farms where families toil, the detention centres where hope fights to survive, the town camps where culture and strength endure, and the communities carrying the weight of the future. Thank you. I was very nervous before I was about to speak and before I was about to present to, almost 200 countries in the UN, but I think as I started speaking, I realised that I was sitting around not just ambassadors and diplomats, but actually thousands of young people that I've had the privilege of meeting on this journey. I felt them in that room with me, and so it was just such a privilege and an experience that I'll never forget.
We want to work for something while we're in here. We want to leave with a purpose. Maybe if we had a one-on-one mentor when we got out, we'd have a better shot of staying out. Maybe if more people believed in us, we'd learn to believe in ourselves.
We are not asking for everything, we're just asking for chances. For a proper mattress, a therapist, a cleaner room, the return of funded TAFE programs, a therapy dog, a barista course, a shot at a normal life. You have the power to make that possible. And for all the kids who will come through here after us, we are not lost causes. We are young people trying to find our way back, and we need your help. Sincerely, the young people at Cobham Juvenile Justice Centre.